What's going on, guys? Today we are continuing part 2 of the reliable daily build thing. What is up, boys, and the 6% of you that YouTube tells me is female? I am going to Advance Auto right now to take care of the fact that they only gave me 3 spark plugs instead of 4. So we'll see what happens. Check it out, we now have 4 spark plugs and they're pre-gapped. I already checked them, so I'm gonna go ahead and just start putting them in. It shouldn't take me too long. And I'm the idiot who just replaced the spark plugs without turning the camera on. But spark plugs are done, so we'll go ahead and check that off the list. Alright guys, next we are going to start pulling this stuff apart so that we can replace this hose and repair this pump. These 2 little gaskets are where the leaks are coming from, so I'm going to go to the hardware store and get a couple new ones, just a couple O-rings that are the same size, and we'll use those. Alright, so it turns out no place around me will sell O-rings to replace this. I can have them ordered at the local auto parts store. I can have them order a rebuild kit for this power steering pump, but you know, I don't want to sink that money into this pump. I'd rather just buy a different one for 20 bucks at the local junkyard. There's a whole bunch of them there. So I have some water pump gasket maker, and I'm going to use that and just kind of put it around here and put the plate back on, and we'll see if it still leaks, and if not, then I guess we're good to go. Oh, I forgot to record it, but I just topped it off with some power steering fluid. You want to make sure when you're doing these cars that you use the Honda power steering fluid, because it is different. So you want to make sure that you're using Honda stuff. I mean, they make it in different brands, but you know how that should go. Alright, you guys, we got 2 things. Sorry, I've been drinking. 4 things left on the list here. So we have 2 easy things and 2 hard things. We have the coolant leak, which is really easy. It's just replacing a hose. I mean, it's still probably going to be a little bit of a pain. And replacing the Schrader valve and filling the AC. 2 really easy things. The other 2 things that we have are installing the motor mounts. Installing motor mounts is super easy, except there's 2 bolts that I have to drill out, so I'm dreading doing that. In the ball joint. I want to tackle one of the harder things right now, just to kind of get it out of the way. I'm going to do the ball joint. Now, normally ball joints aren't too bad, but on these cars you have to take off the whole knuckle, which means you have to take off the caliper and the caliper bracket and the rotor, and you have to undo the lower ball joint, you have to undo the upper ball joint, you have to undo the tie rod end and the axle nut. All of that has to be undone, and then you can pull that whole knuckle off. It's not bad when you've had it off before, so it shouldn't be too bad on this car, but it's still kind of more work than I want to do right now, but I'm going to go ahead and get started on it. Alright, once you have the knuckle off the car, you just need a snap ring tool and a hammer to get the ball joint out. So I took the boot off because it was kind of in the way for me. It was that aftermarket boot. But if you have the factory boot on there, I'm pretty sure you can leave it on, considering that they get pressed in with the boot on. But I'm going to go ahead and use this snap ring tool to take it apart. And I do believe that once you have that snap ring out, you just start hammering at this and hammer it through. Now, I got the new one here. I got a Moog ball joint because I just replaced that one a couple years ago and it's already bad, so I decided to get a good one. What you can do is you can put a socket around here on the outside and hammer it in from this side, but my local auto parts store rents out ball joint presses for free, and the reason I hammered it out is because I've had bad luck with the ball joint press getting it out, but the ball joint press is definitely the best way to get it in. I think it costs like $200 to rent it or something crazy, but they give it all back to you once you return it. So I'm gonna go rent one of those and press this guy in with the ball joint press. Alright guys, it's the next day. I got the ball joint press and some other stuff too while I was out, but I needed to clear up some space on my phone so I could record the rest of the video, and while I was doing that, I came out here and I tried to drill out some of the motor mounts, and well, not the motor mounts, but the two bolts that are holding, or that are broken off in there. It looks like the previous owner kind of welded them, which I was a little bit confused about, so I ground off the weld and the bolt kind of went up into the frame. So basically the nuts that are welded in the frame, they're tack welded in the frame for the bolts to go into. Those welds are broken, so I either need to cut the frame and weld new nuts in, or use a riv nut tool, and I don't have one of those, so I'm actually going to order a riv nut tool online. So we're going to do the motor mounts in a different video, but we're going to go ahead and continue where we left off. So on this video, to put in this new ball joint, what you need is to press it in from this side. For this side we have the adapter to go around the ball joint. Where did I put it? Oh, right here. So basically this goes through, this sits around, the ball joint press goes on this side and on this side and squeezes them together. Now, I don't have enough room for the other attachment to go in here and press down on the ball joint. So what we're going to use instead is the axle socket. Happens to be the correct size to go on the outside of the ball joint and press it in. So we're going to just squeeze like this using this giant ball joint C-clamp, and that'll press our ball joint in. So I'm going to go ahead and get going on that. Alright, the ball joint's in. As you can see, I kind of had to rig something up to get it to work because this piece is not long enough, so I had to stack these two pieces from the kit. And that ended up working just fine. So now we just need to put the snap ring in that came with the kit. Now we just got to put everything back together. Alright, so now surprisingly, the upper ball joint boot on this side is ripped too, right along here. So, I have this one off of the, one of the old eBay ball joints, which was like 3 years old somehow. This one's not ripped at all, so go ahead and swap those out. Alright, so that's all replaced now. Now we can get everything put back together. After I grease it. Alright guys, the last thing that we're going to do this episode is I'm going to fix the little coolant leak that I got going on. I just got to replace this hose. You're not going to be able to see much, but I'm going to go ahead and pull the hose out. It goes to the idle air control valve, and the other end goes to the thermostat housing. So, go ahead and get this all taken out. Actually, this isn't even the thermostat housing. I don't know what this is. But anyway. Alright, I got that out. I'm going to the store to return the ball joint press and get another one of those hoses. Alright, you guys, I got to get going to my brother's bachelor party, so I'm going to call it a night. Next episode is going to be fixing that leak, like just putting that hose back on, filling the AC, and doing the motor mounts. But for now, that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you for watching. Peace out.
Ooh.